Hello there. Welcome back to another week of delightful discussions. Today, I have a community connection segment for you guys, and I have to say, I am super excited to share my guest with you. In case you don't know, I am Mariah Young, the First Impressions Director with the 48 Days. And really, I am your liaison, your concierge, whatever you want to call it, to everything disc related for business and for coaches to thrive. So today I have a question for you. How can you get involved in your veteran community? The likelihood is that many of us have someone in our lives that are a veteran or have grown up in a veteran family. So today I get to share with you two amazing gentlemen, brothers, in fact, that are going to talk about that. And they have an amazing ministry. Grab your cup of coffee or water, whatever you're drinking. Make sure that you join us. You are not going to want to miss out today. And of course, if you have questions, comments, want to just say hello, please do so in the comments below. I will make sure that our guests get to see those. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right. It is beyond my honor to get to share my guests with you today. And just so you have a little bit of background, Gavin Erickson and Gabe Erickson are brothers. Gavin is an 18-year active duty Army veteran and is currently a first sergeant in Montana. He has a huge heart for veterans and their families and started Warrior Transition Outdoors to take care of people as they transition from military to civilian life. A very difficult transition. Gabe, of course, is his brother, as I already mentioned, and has a background in journalism, news, nonprofit management, entrepreneurship, and sales. And he has shared with me that he has such a heart for telling stories. So I know you guys are going to love them. He joined his brother in the Warrior Transition Outdoors to help veterans and their families thrive. Guys, you are not going to want to miss this interview today. Make sure that you stay with us. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on Gabe and Gavin. Woohoo! Yay! Hi, guys. I never know which order to say your name in because it's like, does it matter? Does it not?
It doesn't matter.
Brothers, yeah. I think, sometimes it's like the older or the younger, it's just such a funny dynamic. But thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having us. We're honored to be here.
We appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to share your information. And look, we've already got some comments. Maxwell Tubbs is here with us today. Max goes by.
Hey, Max.
We love Max.
No, yes. I found out about you guys from Max, so I'm super excited to have him. And then we've got Billy Bodiford. I hope I said that right. Great group of guys. Yay. So we've already got some people joining us today. Thanks, guys. And so let's just get started. Let's dive right in. Can you start with sharing your story with us and how you got started with Warrior Transition Outdoors?
Sure. Yeah. So like you had mentioned in the beginning, I've been in for 18 years. The first 8 years of that was in the infantry. And with the 101st Airborne, I deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. And when I was in Afghanistan, a few of my platoon members left service. If you're not deployed, you're typically given a year to transition from the military to the civilian world. But when you're deployed, you don't get that year. You might get a few weeks on either side of that date, and then that's your transition essentially. So we were seeing kind of the play-by-play of those transitions throughout the duration of our deployment, and those guys were really struggling. So a handful of us got together towards the end of our deployment and said, how can we help veterans in the future like avoid that situation? And what we knew about at the time and were most passionate about then was outdoor adventure, right? There's a healing component, right, to the outdoors. So we got back to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, filed for a nonprofit, started it, got our 501c3, and shortly after that, all of us got orders to go everywhere across the country. So just wasn't feasible at that time, but I honestly thank God every day for that because I didn't know then what I know now. And my orders took me into recruiting, which was a transition in and of itself for me. I had lost a really good friend of mine in Afghanistan in a firefight, and it was I did not start processing that until about a year into my recruiting tour. I was making terrible decisions. I was drinking too much. It just wasn't a good picture. I had a friend of mine, actually, she graduated high school with Gabe and I, but she had just finished a clinical psychology program with the United States Navy. And she reeled me in. She's like, dude, you're killing yourself. Like, what are you doing like with your life? And she ended up giving me some coping mechanisms and talking me through some of the stuff I was going through. But in those talks, she had mentioned that her colleagues moonlit in the community, helping veterans go through some of those tough things. And that really stuck to me. What I wanted to do with the fishing, hunting, outdoor adventure stuff, it made that feel very much like a Band-Aid over a much bigger problem. And so I just committed to myself back then, this is in 2011, that when I retired, I was going to take a holistic approach at the veteran and their family transitioning over a longer period of time. Gabe helped me start that initial nonprofit due to some of his professional experience, which I'll let him share. But so we've been conceptualizing kind of this organization for over a decade.
Wow.
And so I kind of recruited all over the country. I kind of won the lottery. I say it all the time because it is like winning the lottery, getting assigned out here in Montana as a first sergeant. And I love it out here. You know, I had some unique experiences out here as an outdoorsman that I was like, Gabe, you have to come experience this. So I invited him out, and he showed up and walked in the door. He's like, dude, I'm staying. I love it here. So that's kind of where my piece pauses, and I'll let him tell his side.
Yeah, like,
I love it.
Parallel universe. I went to school for journalism, like you mentioned. So I was in the news. I did the nonprofit thing as a communications director, started my own business, got into professional sales. And so by the time I moved to Montana, was looking for my next opportunity, got offered the job as the executive director for a local veterans nonprofit here in Billings, Montana, which was super exciting. We were going to start this when he retired in 2 years. Oh. And so I started there. And after 3 weeks, Mariah, I had to resign because I say we because he was like my veteran consultant to make sure I was like doing things in a way as a civilian that, you know, was respectful and honorable and just treated people well. And so they were just really taking advantage of veterans, and the way they spent money, 5% of their budget was going toward their cause, and the rest was just whatever else. And, you know, you hear those stories all the time, but when it actually happens to you personally, as you're trying to like take on a program that you thought looked good on the outside, it was just really discouraging. And that's when we knew, like, God told us, you have to start this now, because this is the status, that like kind of the main status of how things are happening out there in the world.
Yeah, it is so important. I myself, you know, am from a veteran family. You know, my dads actually both, my grandpa, everybody. And I understand, you know, there's so much that goes into being a part of a family that, you know, comes from that kind of background and deployment, all of those different things. So I really appreciate that. Okay, great story. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm like wishing I had a tissue nearby. Because I think that what you guys do is so important. So let's continue digging further in. Without, of course, giving away personal details, can you guys share some of the stories from the work that you do? I know that is why you do what you do, right? Those stories. Can you share a little bit of that?
Yeah, sure. So essentially, we pivoted a little bit from the outdoor adventure model, and why we exist is family advocacy. So when we have a family sign up, and when I say family, that could be an individual, that could be a family of 5, that could be, you know, a retired Air Force female getting out with 3 dogs, like that can be anybody that's a veteran and their family, right? Anybody who supports that person. But we assign an advocate to them for life. Our family advocate, our lifelong advocate, is called a civilian connection specialist, and it's their job. They take that role knowing that that's a lifelong commitment for them, and they're there just to fill gaps that family might have, whether that's with resources we have or resources that are external within the community. So very early on, at one of our initial veterans that we got had gotten out of the Navy after about 4 years, and was just struggling with some mental health stuff, some suicidal ideation, stuff like that. And Just an amazing woman, though. Single mom, a really good mom, and just like everybody else goes through the same struggles. And so immediately, so part of our process is we do an in-person family visit, right? And we do that with a couple different individuals that help provide information to a medical and mental health advisory board that we have. Our advisory board kind of takes a look at, they read as case studies because of HIPAA, but they're able to then provide guidance and reflect on what's going on in each of the family's homes from their particular perspectives. And then we pass that off to an occupational therapy lens. And then that occupational therapy lens helps us come up with comprehensive plans for all of our veterans and their families. So we're able to hyper tailor every transition to every family. And so this individual had gotten out of the Navy and had been experiencing those issues. And we immediately got her plugged in with some equine therapy. All of our staff members, we have 60 staff members across the country right now. All of our staff members are veterans or are directly related to veterans. So she was instantly plugged into a community that was gonna speak her language, love and support her unconditionally. Because that's one thing Gabe and I talk about all the time is we're trying to bring unconditional love into a world really that is not really experiencing that, right? And a lot of nonprofits, due to whatever grants they write or whatever, they can't take on certain people because of their discharge status. Like, we don't care. As long as if you were in a mental state to sign that dotted line and say, I could potentially give my life for this country, whether that's Air National Guard or active duty, Army or Marine Corps, whatever, like, you're important. Like, that decision is only made by less than 1% of people across the country. Yeah. So that's kind of like our take on it. And so, we brought her into the family. She's an amazing person, immediately got her plugged into some resources. And I would say that she would say she's thriving right now.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I wish I had my pom-poms to cheer you guys on right now. Like, seriously, this is amazing. And I want to make sure, Gabe, if you don't mind sharing, but before I want to share, Max says, thanks for sharing your stories and creating this incredible organization for veterans and families. Yeah, it's so important. And then on a fun note, loving the hats. Love it. Yes.
We got to get Billy a hat. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So yeah, I think that's so key. What you said there is that it's a holistic view, because that really is the case, right? It's not just a one and done, and the lifelong advocacy. Wow. Amazing. So I guess there's so many questions I have, and I'm like, okay, I can't make this an hour-long show. So we'll stick to the program that I said, but you guys, I love that you guys are working with people, though, across the country who are ex-veterans and who have been affected by this themselves. And so, of course, they're probably just so eager to jump in, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes, too, and how they can work with you. And so I'm curious, and I would actually love to hear from both of you on this one. What's one just amazing action that you have taken since you started working with us that you can directly link to the success you guys are having today?
I mean, the first thing that came to my mind was LinkedIn. I've been off social media. I took a 5-year hiatus. How long were you off? 9 years. And the way, when we got back on LinkedIn, we just said, we're going to be very intentional. And when we connect with someone, we're going to connect with them. We're not just going to, connect and then let them sit in this like queue of people that we can claim we've got this many connections. And so just by having that intentionality to say, thank you for connecting with me. It's so nice to meet you. We've got this going on. I see you've got some cool stuff going on. We want to schedule a 30-minute call. And so we have 30 plus hours a week of meetings just like that with amazing people that we're meeting. And, that's really been the success. And it's really lended itself to like a many hands equals light work concept, because so many people believe in the mission. This isn't just our mission. This is like, I think this is like, is the solution mission to the transition problem. So many people are catching that fire, and that's why we have 60 people across the country and all of that. So I'd say LinkedIn, using it personally.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. How about you, Gavin?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to like say the words, if you're in the military, caveat and dovetail. That's like nails across the chalkboard. But it is though. It's like LinkedIn has honestly like changed our lives, right? And definitely springboarded this nonprofit in a way that I never thought would happen. And obviously a lot of that is due to the connections that God has led us to, but I think very much, not just connecting for the sake of having a number, and really getting personal with it, and not even just a text conversation, just saying, hey, like kind of, we call it forced fun, right? Where you're just like, hey, we're gonna jump on a 30-minute call and look each other face to face and get the awkwardness out of there right away and hear each other's stories. And there's a lot of value in being able to look at someone's eyes and see how genuine they are, versus like what you're trying to interpret over text message or whatever. And I think that's that face-to-face interaction this generation has gotten away from, which it's really sad, but that's really the glue, right, that holds us together. So
Do you want a miracle story out of this
Yes.
as an example?
Obviously.
I mean, there's dozens.
there's a
You know,
million.
even the people that are on watching right now, so many of them are part of our family. But we met someone from Salt Lake City, and she's just an amazing, amazing woman who became a friend, family member of ours. We met her when we went to Salt Lake for Talar. And she put us in touch with a CPA who was going to help us get our 501c3 status early on. And he said, hey, but it's tax season. I actually don't want to overcommit. And so he said, but I don't want to leave you. He called us and we just sat there like, okay, no problem. And we thought he was going to hang up. He goes, but I don't want to leave you in the lurch. So I found a wealth management company and I know the guy personally, and they're going to pay for your 501c3. So we got it within 5-6 months. And it's just like that kind of stuff happens when you just treat people like people. It's been so humbling.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I have to say too, I mean, I reached out to you out of nowhere and we had a conversation. And you guys are awesome. I will say our conversation was so fun. And I can see why people get so energized in talking with you guys. You have a great system, which, speaking of, we have some more comments that you guys should definitely see. So we have mental health awareness is so important. This is why I love being a part of this organization and being a mental health advocate on the advisory board. This does bring me to a question I did not put in the questions I sent you. But can you share what your team looks like? I mean, you're talking about 60 people across the country with different backgrounds and medical and all kinds of backgrounds. Can you share with us what that even looks like?
Yeah. So first off, I Chance's comment right there. LinkedIn has led us to having kind of a process that LinkedIn is the reason that we're having the process we have. We wouldn't have been able to find the people that we needed to have the process we have without it. And early on, Gabe and I were like, right now, the government, Department of Defense, Congress, their solution to the transition problem is an institutional programmatic solution. And it's blanketed across the services. It's called TAP, right? Transition Assistance Program. But that's the problem, is you can't have a institutional solution to a personal problem. And so mental health being a very important part of a veteran and their family's transition, we're like, man, we have to get some mental health, advisory people or advocates, like Chance said, involved. And so we started reaching out to people just like Chance and saying like, hey, would you be willing to donate some of your time to reviewing case studies on what's going on in every one of our family's homes? And we're up to 44 advisory board members across the country right now. And we've had personal conversations with each one of these professionals, and they are just the most amazing people in the fields that they're in, right? And just so selfless. And so I like, sometimes I'm talking to these people and I just get teary-eyed talking to them, because like, they don't have to do that. They anybody who's in the mental health field knows that the caseload in that field right now is just astronomical, right? And these people are working 12, 14, 16-hour days and then reviewing our little programs, case files on their free time. Like it's just unreal. So to the 44 board members we have, thank you so much if you're watching. But essentially, so they're a huge part of what we do. And so very early on, we do an in-person visit, right? We have team members like, I an observational specialist, which has a social work background, and that could be on an array of the scale of like currently in their master's program or doing licensed clinical social work for 30 plus years. We have intervention specialists that's keyed up on the effects of drug, alcohol, and sex addictions versus some of the trauma that our veterans and their families experience. And then obviously our lifelong advocate. But we also have a military connection specialist, and that person is serving or in the typically like the National Guard or Army Reserves, or has just gotten out, and they specifically are there just for the veteran. So helping the veteran navigate the VA system, fight file claims, understand and use the benefits they earned while they were in, or just be somebody to talk to that says, "Hey, I just went through this transition. You know, what do you need? Here's some people I can plug you into, etc." So those are kind of the core people. But we also have a financial advisor, Richard Dayton out of Virginia. We have Billy Bodiford as our employment counselor. So these people talk to every single one of our veterans and their families on their free time, right? We have
VA Bulldog.
We do. We have a VA Bulldog that it has worked for systems like the Tulsa VA, the Las Vegas VA. And Carol is an amazing woman, and she's just ready to fight for veterans in the VA. That's just what she does. She's like, she could quote the regulation in her sleep, essentially. And so
that is a gift.
Yeah. You go to Carol with an issue. She's like, "Oh, I know, right? In the regulation where that exists. I know the services you could use, like, etc." It's crazy. Justin Rufa has a PhD and came to us and is like, "Hey guys, I found my passion and it's helping veterans navigate the education system. Can I be your education counselor?" So we have people that talk to every single one of our veterans kind of about all of the things that pop up during transition. So we're kind of a one-stop shop. But yeah, so all those people are on our family advocacy team, essentially. But very early on in our process, we do an in-person visit with, at a minimum, the observation specialist and the lifelong advocate. And they have 24 hours based off that interaction at that person's home to write a report and drop that report on a HIPAA compliant Google Share drive. But at that visit, it's nothing like super like invasive to the veteran and their family. It's really an introduction to who we are with them. And essentially we're using conversation and observation to match, does the veteran's perceived needs meet their actual needs? Our social workers are looking at the home from, the veteran, the spouse, the dog, cat, goldfish, dish situation, grocery situation, kids, toy situation. Like I don't know if you're probably familiar with what social workers do. I wasn't before I started this, but they're amazing. Social workers are amazing.
Yes.
And so those reports get reviewed by our advisory board.
Wow.
They collaborate on that share drive, and then all of that gets wrapped up into a one page and given to an occupational therapy layer, like I talked about earlier. They come up with comprehensive plans for our veterans and their families, and then our lifelong advocate helps our veterans and families enact those plans. So like I said, hyper focused, hyper detailed, and tailored to each family.
And that's just the family advocacy team. There's other teams doing other things.
So. Yeah, we have hunting divisions, fishing divisions, outdoor recreation divisions,
storytellers, photographers,
yeah.
videographers. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Pretty awesome.
Holy moly, guys. I am just beyond impressed. I mean, beyond. It's so amazing. And I can see that our audience is as well. Let me show a couple more comments with you. Gabe and Gavin are constantly breaking down barriers for veterans. It's truly incredible. Yes. I love this. And Elizabeth says, "You guys are amazing. Thanks for sharing your mission." Yes.
I just had the best conversation with Elizabeth.
I love it.
I'm
yes.
sad.
I appreciate her sharing our show as well. So I recognize her as well. So, wow, you guys have put together an amazing system. I mean, I can't even, like, the logistics in my brain are going nuts. I can't imagine. So you do a lot of work. I'm sure you guys are out there in the community. You're doing so much. So I'm going to ask an off question before we get into how we can, collaborate with you and get involved, which I definitely want to make sure we cover. Can you tell us something fun, funny, or interesting, each of you, about yourselves?
About ourselves.
About ourselves.
Yeah.
Gabe and I were in a barbershop quartet in high school.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much.
Usually when people look at us, they don't think that. But we sang like Boys to Men, and it was pretty corny, but also really fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Is that what you would share too, Gabe?
That's not even close to the first thing that came to my mind. As much as we love doing all the things you said, we equally love just binging Netflix and drink. Like, we love snacks. So we love soda, chips, Cheetah. Like, we're just big snack guys.
Ice cream. Yeah.
Ice cream.
Yeah.
I can always have ice cream. Cold, hot, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What's your favorite snack? I have to know.
Oh man.
Depends on if you're road tripping or like sitting on the couch. But I mean, ice cream is probably my go-to.
Yeah. Favorite flavor?
Ooh. I love a good like just chocolate with like caramel swirl or something, you know.
I've recently discovered Moose Track mint chocolate chip.
Ooh, Moose Track. Yeah, just about anything Moose Track.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, I have to make sure we share something there because there's so much information we can give. It's good to just do a fun little question. I love it. So let's go ahead and get into this. How about starting from the veteran side? How can a veteran get involved with you guys?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, our website, our Gabe's personal number is on that thing. Every business card we give out, our personal number is on it. Call and have a conversation if you have questions, right? If you've read the website and you have questions, cool. If you've already talked to us or you just want to be a part of our family, there's a link that says, "Are you a veteran? Join our family." There's a quick little intake form that asks you questions about where you are in the transition process. If you're transitioning, talk about your outdoor adventure experience, what your dream outdoor adventure would be. But it's a quick link and it's honestly a quick fill out.
I love that. And of course, the link to your website is in the video description. So people can get to that. And then you guys have some really cool events. I was checking out your events. And the ones you mentioned in what you sent me weren't even the ones that are on there. You have like so many events happening. Can you share some of those?
Yeah. So some of the stuff on our website talks about like the different hunting trips coming up and fishing trips. And not all of those are even on the website, but our veterans are, we have a lot of stuff coming up with fishing and hunting season here. One of our first elk hunts, if we're trying to he's out of state, so we need to figure out the logistics, but he's a Chicago native. He's never hunted in his life besides watching someone hunt from a truck. So to take him on his first hunt, Rocky Mountain elk hunting on public land with a bow is going to be really fun. As far as like, we have a couple fundraising events just to get us like, we just want to have fun. We don't want to do stuffy. Like, we're not trying to like ask people for money. We're not trying to be that kind of like tone with our organization. So we have a golf tournament coming up. So that's, going to be a lot of local support for that. But if you happen to be national and want to come, like, more power to you.
Yeah.
I do think that'll grow as we grow. We are national. So I think we're going to have a lot of stuff nationally like that. And then we do have a national event, which is our ultra marathon. It's a gravel ultra marathon, 32 miles, and a gravel century ride, which is 100 miles on the bike. So you can pick one or the other. And that's going to be August 12th. And we're really excited about that. It's called Revenant. So
awesome. Can somebody do both? Just curious.
I think we're going to have like delayed start times. So probably this is the first time doing it. So we're talking about some of that stuff in the future, but yeah.
Okay. Just curious. Cause I know like I have some Ironman people in my life. So I was curious.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then also, our audience, especially with 48 Days, tends to be a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, those kinds of people. How can somebody get involved with you or collaborate with you in your mission work?
Yeah, I would say, honestly, the best way and the way we would most prefer is just reach out to us, right? Have a conversation with us because, and I think we told you too, Mariah, like when we go into things with an ask or like a perceived, like this is how I can help, we're really just addressing the tip of an iceberg. We have a financial team out in Virginia that, because we want to be so intentional in everything we do. So we have a financial team out in Virginia that takes a look at literally every dollar that gets donated to us and how it can be maximized, and potential donors and talking to those potential donors about how to maximize their donations instead of just writing a check and just having it be that way. We want to be very intentional in everything we do. So reach out to us and have a conversation with us, right? That's kind of like just this type of stuff. And Mariah, our initial conversation, that video chat. If you're in the Montana area, like Gabe and I travel all the time, so we'd love to sit down and have a coffee with you at whatever, you name it, local coffee place, right? We're addicted to coffee. So, yeah, but definitely just having that video chat, just to kind of talk and see what your picture looks like, and tell you more about our picture, so you can say, you know what, I think I would be best suited to help you guys in this area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that, because there are, obviously so many opportunities. You never know. You just never know.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I love that. Well, man, you guys, I could just keep talking, but I did promise we'd keep it around 30 minutes. Before we wrap up, though, do you both or either of you have something that you would like to share before we finish off here?
I just want to say, as a civilian, like, to people watching that are on that side of the coin, we talk all the time that you can't build a bridge from the military to civilian life if there is no civilian shore. And so, it's really on us as civilians. And I encounter people all the time. And it took me a while in my own journey. That's a big part of my story, is like realizing that I can have an active role in this, and I don't have to feel discredited because I'm not a veteran, to talk to veterans and to be there for them. And, Gavin works all the time. So I find myself like spending time with a lot of our veterans, and it's just, they're humans, and I think if we can just see, from our side as a civilian, that's a human being, not a veteran that needs to be pushed into a corner who has PTSD. Don't do that. Just be human, treat them like humans, and love on them. And, there is an active role to take in that, and whatever gifts or skill sets or wherever you're at in life, you're probably primed for that with whatever you have going on. And so I would just encourage people watching to like really have empathy, and if you need help with empathy, like, good luck, or reach out, like, we can talk to you about what that might look like. So
Yeah, I love that.
I guess my thing would be just destigmatizing this whole mental health thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We should be at a point. I've had a conversation with a really good friend of mine that actually met on LinkedIn. But if we could get to a point where we talk about mental health like as if it was a sprained ankle, we would not be having issues. And so I would just say, like, if you're on this call or listening or later or whatever the case is, like, we need to just talk about this stuff. Everybody, veteran, non-veteran, if you're going through something, somebody else in your group is also going through something. And just being able to have that conversation and being brave and bringing it up, you'll see other people in your life come and be like, hey, me too. Right. Like, I'm going through that too. So I would just say, like, let's just destigmatize this whole thing and just start talking about some of this crap that we're going through.
Yes. Oh, so good. And you're right. That's a universal message, right?
Yeah.
I love it. Oh my gosh. You guys, thank you so much for sharing today. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you, what you're doing. And I know I'm not alone in that. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. We're honored.
We're honored. We love you. Thank you.
It was a lot of fun.
Same. All right, guys. I know if you have questions or you want to get in touch with Gabe and Gavin, all their information is in the description for this interview. If you are watching the replay, please feel free to comment and ask any questions. I will make sure that they get to Gabe and Gavin, and I think they're actually tagged in there, so they'll see it. So please make sure that you do that. We definitely want to see their company, wow, all of a sudden I've lost what I'm saying. Their organization to thrive. And I know you guys would love to be involved with that. I know our audience is very generous in that way. So please make sure that you reach out. And I do see one last comment, and I got to put it up before we close out because I can't help it. But this is Donovan Manley. I know him as well. I actually think we'll need to connect you guys, but this is a great cause and seems like they're making a huge difference. Thanks for sharing, Mariah. Yes, Donovan is also a military guy himself. So
appreciate it, Donovan.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. You guys have a fantastic day. Do make sure that you reach out. Yes. All right. Until next week. Bye.